Our next speaker is an entrepreneur and a product designer passionate about systems thinking and human-centered design and its implications across business sectors. He's also a musician and a leader of multidisciplinary creative collaboration through the media industry. His experiences focus on the intersection of business, technology, and creativity. He's the founder of Imusify, a decentralized platform for music-related digital content. So give it up for Nate Strang.
Give it up for Alex, our MC. He hasn't had a round of applause yet. So I'm really fortunate to be here to talk about Imusify and the project that we're working on. But I want to touch on something that's been said a few times throughout the conference that I think is really important for us all to remember. And it was said most clearly, I think, by Fabio, the leader of City of Zion, yesterday in a panel. And he said that humans are the secret to blockchain. And I think that's something that's really important to remember because, you know, in the midst of all of this rapid evolution with this technology and all the opportunities that come from it, I think it's really important to remember that, you know, we are the humans that are interacting with it, and it's important to give that value. So we're really fortunate and excited at Imusify to be working on an application for that. And we're excited to bring a platform together at the intersection of music and technology. And I think the reason this is so important to us is because music has such a strong intrinsic value. And it has a really a global appeal, and it's something that we all can relate to and enjoy. And it's a really exciting opportunity to create a new way that this blockchain technology will allow us to consume and interact and even collaborate with others around the world. So I'd like to present Imusify, which is a music distribution ecosystem, and it's really rethinking and reinventing the music infrastructure around the world. So before I go into the product a little bit, I want to talk about the industry landscape. So artists, creators, and entrepreneurs are currently operating in a very complex web of systems and outdated processes that really create a huge value gap in this space where the value that's delivered to end users, listeners, and users is really not reciprocated in the value returned to artists. And the reason for that is that there are these intermediaries in the space, from collections agencies to rights organizations and record labels. And they create a huge disconnect for the value that artists create in this space. They're the key creators of value, but they are not rewarded the way that they should be. And so that's why we're trying to redevelop this infrastructure, to give the opportunities to artists that they need, to give them the resources. And as was being discussed in this Global Capital talk this morning, you know, we see artists as businesses and not commodities. And we need to support them and even invest in them to allow them to grow. And this is a really exciting opportunity that we're tackling with our platform. So we see Imusify as an artist-centric earning platform, we like to call it. And what that means is that these intermediaries that have typically existed in the space, the labels and the rights organizations, they're no longer required. We now put artists at the center of this interaction, and we allow for a direct peer-to-peer exchange of value between artists and labels, and artists and fans, and even artists and investors. And we do all this with our token, our IMU utility, and it allows for kind of an economic engine for exchanging value between all of these processes. And we describe this as an open system, but what it really is it is a place where every interaction that takes place in the music space, from production to collaboration amongst artists, to investment in artists, and to distribution, they can all occur in one place. So what the flow of this value exchange really looks like, it can really be quite far-reaching. You know, we've created opportunities for artists to garner support from investors and fans in the form of crowd-funded ICOs, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a second. And we've created this fully functioning system where artists can receive support. They can then take those funds and directly use them to support projects like albums and tours. And then they can deliver a very strong and clear value to their listeners and their fans. And they can connect directly to these artists in a way that really provides them with some incredible data and interaction that hasn't been possible before. So if you look at the example of a streaming service, as it exists now, you may pay $10 a month for Spotify or Apple Music, or you may not even pay at all. But what happens with that money is it first goes to the streaming service, it then goes on to a collecting service, and then on through a rights organization that manages the copyrights of the music, and finally on to the record label, and then months later, and in a fraction of the value that's deserved, it's finally distributed to the artists. So with our system here, we can destroy that old infrastructure and create a direct transaction system and an automatic transaction system from the artist to the listener or the fan or the investor. So the possibilities for exchanging value in this system are pretty limitless, and it's been really fun to design this utility, but we're focusing on a few key use cases for our initial platform. And so a few of those that are worth mentioning is this bridge between artists and investors. So we're allowing and providing an opportunity for artists to reach out to their supporters and investors in the space and create an ICO that will allow them to offer a portion of equity to their supporters and thus fund the projects that will aid them in developing and really creating a sustainable source of revenue and a sustainable career for them, which hasn't been possible before. And also with this token, we are providing fair royalty payments to artists, whether it's streaming, purchases, or licenses. We're also going to be rewarding users for curating content and contributing, which we see as a really strong value in incentivizing adoption of the platform. And we do all of this while maintaining a sort of open innovation space and community for new developers and new businesses to occur. And we're really welcoming and inclusive to anyone who wants to take part in the music industry. We welcome them to reach out to us and get in touch because we are providing the platform in the community, and we want to create a new infrastructure, and we're doing it. But it takes the people in the industry to come and join us. So I want to talk a little bit more about this crowdfunding ICO idea. So we're going to provide sort of a consulting service for artists. I think we can all agree that there's going to be a significant amount of education in the cryptocurrency world over the next 12 months, and I think it's really vital for that to happen, for it to survive. And we're going to play a key part in that, in educating the creators and the creative people and the artists. So we'll educate them in any way they see fit. Some artists like to focus on their work. Some artists like to be kind of a one-man show. And we'll provide this service and advise them on the best token structure to support their short-term goals, so supporting the scope of the project that they're looking for, and also their long-term career goals, so that they can use this token as a way to sustain the value in the ecosystem they're operating in. And so once we've launched a few of these successful tokens and campaigns, and this idea of an artist token, which the guys at Huddle actually have been truly pioneers in doing. They actually have their own token that they use to support an album, just like I'm talking about. It's a pretty cool project. You should check it out. But once we have a few more of these tokens in the space and it's kind of become infiltrated in the community, we envision this Imusify exchange. And the Imusify exchange is a place where any music-related asset can be exchanged, from content to tokens themselves. And so the way we're able to do this with such ease and convenience is we're going to use the Next ICO template that was talked a little bit about yesterday. So with this template, we can create Net 5 compliant tokens for our artists that allow for really important things in the process that we're trying to do. So they allow us to have these tokens take part in exchanges and other advanced interactions. And they allow us to kind of create a list of eligible parties. So it'll allow artists to give special preference to their supporters and their fans, which is a really important part of this ICO for artists in our opinion. So this template is really just one piece of, or one tool that the Neo community has provided us with. And it's really been important for us to get support from them. So it was mentioned earlier, we were incepted, we took part in the City of Zion DApp competition in November. And after that happened, we realized that this started as a project and an idea, but there's such a strong support in this community, and we saw the City of Zion as such a role model of what a community of doers, as Fabio said, can really make happen if they share a common value. So we began to push this project forward and develop our own open source community following the ideals of the City of Zion. And the development that's happened even in the last month has really been quite exciting. So we're rapidly pushing forward to launch our initial platform, which is going to be live this summer. And we're also approaching our ICO that's going to be coming later this spring. So I want to talk a little bit more about the supporting features that Neo is offering us. So a few of them that have been created recently that we'll be using are, the first that's important is the smart identity. And what that will allow us to do is support this web of trust compliance model that we've heard talked about. And this really is important in creating security behind these transactions of assets. So we'll use things like multi-factor authentication and fingerprints and potentially even voice to create a secure transaction system. We'll also use the Neon wallet as the light wallet that's involved in these transactions. We'll use their NeoFS distributed storage for storing our large database of content in a distributed fashion. And lastly, we'll use the Neo VM. We learned quite a lot about the use cases of this virtual machine yesterday. But the main use that we'll be focusing on is for copyright management and really creating an expansive system and an updated system for managing artists' rights and delivering the value that they need. So all of these tools allow us to create a pretty awesome user interface. We're developing web, desktop, and mobile applications. And we're hoping that this is going to provide an accessibility for all of our different user types, from executives to entrepreneurs to developers to artists to even listeners. So these user interfaces are going to be really important for creating a network and a community that is easily adoptable and that is sustainable. So our white paper is published, and we really recommend you stay tuned to Neo News over the next couple months. We have some very exciting stuff to announce. Our utility token, IMU, is going to hit pre-sale May 1st, and we're going to go into a crowd sale on June 1st. And so I just want to finish up by challenging you guys to ask yourself a question throughout the next couple days, and that is, when you enjoy music, it's a very integral part of a lot of our lives. It's been amazing to talk to so many people here and hear about the people in Neo who actually have musical backgrounds. But when you think about when you consume music, and you think about the enjoyment that gives you and the emotion that it brings out, think about the people who have created that, and think about how our technology will allow for a way to reward them better, and just to think that this is a true use case and a sustainable application of this technology, and I encourage you guys to look for our platform in the future. So I think I have a few more minutes for questions, if anyone has. Yeah.
How are you different from singular TTV?
From what? I'm actually not familiar with the platform. So I think what really sets us apart is the sense of community that we have. All of our team are artists, and we all have our own personal networks associated with us: artists, creators, producers, executives, really industry veterans. And when our platform launches, I think that's going to be an immense tool in creating a rapid adoption in the industry. So I think that's what really sets us apart, is all of our collective vision within our community is going to be really a valuable tool for us. I hope that answered your question.
Here you go.
Anyone have any others?
Over here.
Sure.
One question will be, for a lot of music services, there will be like a subscribe model, like Google Music,
Sure.
Spotify. How could you handle this in the blockchain? Because it's like a monthly recurring, charge.
Right.
How could you handle it? Because you have to manually initiate the transaction, right?
Sure. So you're talking about kind of the revenue stream. So we've actually created a structure that will allow for free streaming for listeners. We have a large incentive pool that we're going to use to reward our artists. And so that actually mitigates the need for a monthly subscription. But there will be other alternate revenue streams from purchases and sync licenses, which will be a really strong key point of the revenue of our platform. Thank you. Yeah.
We're recording, please.
Another question I wanted to ask is how does this work better than say Patreon?
Sure. So I think one of the key differentiators that I actually didn't touch on. So the question was, how does this work better than Patreon? Patreon is a supporting an artist framework that allows you to voluntarily pay for a subscription to access their work. So I think a big part of the thing that differentiates us from Patreon is this crowdfunding model. So we will actually, as a platform, support each of our artists in each of their crowdfunded campaigns. So we are taking an active role in supporting them and giving them the resources they need to succeed, whereas Patreon is more of a connecting point for people who want to participate and the artists themselves. So we're taking a kind of a leading by example role in doing that supporting. I think I have time for one more if anyone has another question. Sure.
Thank you. Why, in your opinion, personal opinion, why an artist needs to be tokenized?
So I think the biggest part of it, the question was, why does an artist need to be tokenized? And I think the biggest part of it is artist sustainability. A lot of times when people get into this space to create music, they get really bogged down because there's no really hope on the horizon for them to increase their earning and to create a sustainable model for themselves. But what a token does is it allows them to create a continuous reference point for their value, and allows them to grow within the community and to really redeem the value that they've created with their work in the form of a token, which isn't possible without that. All right, I think that wraps up my time. I appreciate you guys taking a listen, and I'm looking forward to the next few talks. Thank you.